Good day and welcome back to Elementary 72 Gaming. As you can see, I am here with another weekly update patch notes. Now this is going to be a little bit late. My previous video failed and I realized that it had no audio and video for some reason, so this is a rehash. It should be a little bit later than expected. Okay, so let's go through this entire list of updates. There's quite a big list this week, so there's quite a bit added in. You now cannot fire at your own drones in high-sec. Now, a lot of people have been abusing the fact that you can drain your own drones with your Nosferatu, and it will keep giving you power in high-sec. So it's a way to skip around the factor that you're losing power on your ship when you're using high power draining ships. So with that being gone, it makes a big difference. Now, instead of being consumed by the system, the ISK from expired buy orders created by the insurance system will now return to the insurance pool. Okay, that is a reasonable one. There are now Japanese and Korean preferred language options when setting up a corporation recruitment ad. Alright. A secondary confirmation is now required when deleting an existing saved location. Okay. The default estimated price has been modified for several items. The pull range of interdiction spheres around warp destinations has been adjusted from 1000 km to 300 km. Improve the rotation animation of the strip miner module while it is mining. Navigation to an unanchored destroyed Astris will now correctly go to the original Astris location. Saving the current location while inside a station allows you to now enter that station using autopilot. Kill mail notifications now are sent faster after the kill mail has been generated. Okay, so I'm gonna go over those first 10 in a broad spectrum. So they've eliminated a lot of the bugs that were in the system with the current bookmarks. They're getting ready for a massive update, and I do find myself a little bit disappointed with the way in which they chose to update things. They had a real big downslot within the game. Things are a little bit on the lower end. They decided to first fix up some of the minor bugs in the game. Instead of aiming at big problems and major issues, they gave away... Okay, one thing which I do have to say is a big thing is the fact that they increased the Korean and Japanese language options within the game. This is increasing the possibility for a larger audience because those players may now feel more interested in taking on ads in the game. Now, there is one thing. The save location story about entering into a citadel, I don't understand the importance of it because, to be honest, the fastest way to do any of these is to go to a station which is nearby without anything, just a pod. Go in with your pod, get a free ship, the Ibis, dock it in that station, and you always have a warp point because it will automatically take you into that station. Obviously, if you get kicked from the corp or if you get kicked from that alliance's allowance to get into that station, you won't be able to enter. And that is part of the rules. You can't enter unless you're part of the allowed list. So it does make a big difference to everything, and I hope that it doesn't really make too much of a problem heading forward. Okay, so let's move on to the next few. Save locations can now be filtered to display only the location in the current system instead of all the save locations. The special cargo hold volume of all 4 non-faction T8 industrial ships is now 20,000 cubic meters. Corporation diplomacy, alliance diplomacy, and alliance listings loading has been optimized. Star charts in sovereignty mode have been optimized. The redemption fee valuation now uses the system valuation. Activating a skin will automatically apply the skin to the ship. Added a new bookmark feature that can generate bookmarks from saved locations. Now you can view contracts owed by the corporation in contract. Owned by the corporation in contracts. Okay, sorry about that. Added a feature that allows you to initiate a contract on behalf of your corporation. This type of contract uses corporation assets and corporation wallet for trading. Increase the member limit of custom channels to 500. Okay. So those were the major increases for the week and so forth. As you can see, the second half was more or less to help with trade. I don't think it is so important to be opening out those custom channels to 500 people and above. Most of the time, all you're doing is forcing more and more people into one corporation, forcing a larger and larger alliance to take over more and more of the server. And it is kind of counterintuitive. Obviously, I know the reason for them putting it in. It's to give people the impact of there being more players. There are many more things they could do to improve their game, but I feel that, okay, with this update, what I was expecting, wait one moment. With this update, what I was actually expecting from them was launching events starting from now till T10. You need something like that in the urgentness of this game. And why I'm saying that that is so urgently needed is I go and I do missions every night on my own. I don't really need a corporation because I'm going to get taxed for the corporation and the money is going to go to the corp. It's not really all that beneficial to me. On the other hand, I can stay in high sec, farm missions, farm encounters and missions. I can build items and sell it in high sec. It's quite simple, quite a good amount of profit on certain sellable items. And with all of that, I'm making a fair profit and I'm pushing forward. Now, obviously, there are items which people just purchase all over again instead of running through insurance. And they also have made a lot of mistakes. When they launched the insurance system, it should have been followed up by an event. And they did follow it up with one event, and the event was fair enough to say the least. It was too consuming for too little reward. Once again, they have a habit of doing that for events. They make the event too consuming on a person's time, and they make the reward too minimal for the person's effort. I understand it's 500 plex in value for a permanent skin, but they made sure that they added the ability for you to purchase it on top of the fact that you were earning it by play. And it wasn't a small play. Those missions had piece by piece and they were adjusted like a T8 mission. So it makes things a little bit unnecessary. They weren't following the right format to something that's simple. There wasn't something in it that was worth the risk of taking it. Let's go back to Halloween. What was the big thing about it? They launched brand new items through the event. Fantastic idea, right? Did they launch the right items? No, they absolutely did not launch the right items. They introduced electronic warfare way too early into the game. If electronic warfare was only introduced right now, the meta of the game would start to shift. We'd see people moving away from warp core stabilizers to other items in their low slots because they now have to worry about interdiction spheres and all of these things being added in. That is what you needed. You needed it to come now when the insurance system just arrived. You needed hundreds and thousands of players to be fluttering around so that the market was buzzing. We'd have a Plex price around 20 million a piece. And you know what? Our Plex price is heading up to 2 million by the end of this month by the looks of it. It has been increasing very steadily. And I'm suspecting by the end of this week we will have a 200,000 a piece for Plex. Not 220,000, 2 million a piece for Plex. But nonetheless, the devs didn't capitalize on anything that they did in the positive. Now, that event originally was very, very positive. However, it introduced a massive negative in the fact that it restricted your play. You no longer could avoid being stopped with the warp core stabilizer. You didn't have a way around it. And it angered players and caused players to quit. So for the first 2 days, players farmed heavily on those events. And once those items were introduced, a lot of casual players stopped playing the game because there was more risk being added daily. Although it is only in nullsec, the risk is too great for just operating in the high value area. So that's what was initially launched in. It caused a lot of controversy and the drop rate was fair. It was perfect for that type of level of event. So what is the next thing that they could do? Well, they need to revitalize the main aspects of the game. Nullsec is way too scattered, and when I say way too scattered, I mean you've got these big corps who are way far apart from each other. They don't flow around too much within their own areas. You have too many dead sectors. Sorry. So what they needed to do in this time, instead of introducing these small adjustments, was throw out the balance of ISK earning for at least 6 months. Now, why am I saying throw out the balance of ISK earning? Well, here's all the reasons. Allow the free-to-plays to enter back into the game. Allow the game to flood up at a rapid rate. I already gave them a proposal. They're looking at it. They said they might be able to do it after April. I think that they're wasting too much of time. And I'm going to explain it in my own words right now. If you wait to launch an improvement to the game after April, we're going to lose all of March. We're going to enter into April. We're losing players by massive figures in terms of percentage, although the figures aren't that large anymore, because whoever is on the game is generally becoming more and more casual. The whole thing about it is you don't have enough of a community behind your game at the moment. If you pushed on a community friendly event instead of an earnings friendly event for your company, you will earn the same earning. Yes, you will have to host 100,000 players. I know that's work, but that's what y'all want. Y'all want 100,000 players on the game. With the 100,000 players, you introduce something which are only purchase, that you can purchase with Plex. That means that the Plex market's going to go crazy. People are going to purchase Plex off the market at a more exorbitant rate. It's going to push the value up. Players who haven't played for weeks and weeks will jump on and they'll say, you know what, I can get my ship back for a third of the price at this moment. Let me go buy a pack of ore. The moment they buy the ore, they go and they trade it for Plex, and there you go. They now have their Plex in the game. They're going to trade it in. Things are now functioning again. Plex sales are moving up. More and more things are moving on the game. People are happy again. There's more people around, so people feel like the game is more buzzy. But also on that note, they need more activities that require larger groups. We have dead spaces. They're small group activities. Throw away an event where the group earns a reward, where the bigger the group, the higher the chances. So for example, like I was saying, this is exactly what I proposed to Netties. You all can say whether it was a good idea or bad idea. This is up to you as the community. I proposed that we host 3 sets of events across 3 different sets of weeks. So 3 weeks for the first event, 3 weeks for the second event, 3 weeks for the third event, and then we'll rerun it in a higher form in the next 3 weeks, and then we'll rerun it to the highest form leading up to the eventual adding of black holes or wormholes, the adding of new areas, new sectors, all of this to be added at a later date, giving them time to break in between. And you might be thinking that these are very simple, but here's it. Increase the spawn rate of high-powered encounters. That's the 20 millions, the 5 millions, the 4.5 millions. Increase them by a crazy figure like 10 to 20% higher drop rates on them. That means that people are going to be running through more of these items a lot faster. That means the market's going to have more missions on it. It's going to bring the mission price down for a short period of time. But just listen up, everything is balanced as far as I have planned it. So originally you do that to boost up the playability in high sec. But it's not just that they have higher drop rates, there's an event going on behind it. And you need someone to lead the event, someone who can charge in at a better time to make there be more player bonding. So 3 major event times hosted a day. Host it between the YouTubers. Instead of you, the devs, having to have to dedicate your time to jump on and give an announcement, follow 1, 2, 3 channels for this day, 1, 2, 3 channels for that day, or follow this collaboration for information on event drops. I actually think that the idea of collaborations is a lot better, because you can have 10 to 20 people in one collaboration. The devs can just drop a complete time schedule. Whoever is in charge of it will break it up, ask whoever is available if they're willing to take those times, split it up between everybody, and everybody will have a chance. And it won't just be one person taking the event, it will be 2 or 3 or even 5. And that's the idea. You want more people to be involved in them. So 5 people taking on an event at midday, they announce it in the morning, premiere for channel, for a channel video, this stuff, you get 5 hours notice that there's going to be an event. That means that you have close times. You have to be online. You have to be looking through the forums. You have to be looking at what videos come out. It helps the YouTubers. It helps the game. The game has a bigger surge of players, and they give you a warning. It's from this collaboration, this person's collaboration, that person's collaboration. We can have at least 2 or 3 collaborations running through the game. That means that we're going to have 30 to 40 players, 40 YouTubers running the entire game for us for that period of time. They're going to be pushing forward the content. Now within it, every time you have a group of 10, you stand a 1% chance to receive the special anomaly reward from the encounters. And what is that special anomaly reward? It is a box with an item that isn't in the game as yet, part of the market. So the C-type group battery, the C-type, there's plenty of items that are C-type that aren't yet in the game. So we have these items now being offered to us. Bannermans being offered to us, all of these being offered to us. That is just week 1 in the system. Then we move on to week 2. Week 2, they offer you a higher drop rate with a higher amount. When you're on your own, you only stand a 0.1% chance of getting any drop. So it's basically no chance unless you're in a group. So when you're in a group, you stand a 1% chance. That means every 100 you do, you should actually get 1 loot box, 1 reward. But when you're in a group of 100, the percentage chance now increases to 20-30%. Now you have something to flow for. You're looking for those groups with the YouTubers, flood in with them. You're all together in those same systems. You're running the same operations. You will try and stay together. Obviously the maximum we have is 50, so 100 is a bit over the top, but nonetheless you form teams of 50. The YouTubers know which sector, which corporation to flow with for that hour to get the highest boost rate. Now with the YouTubers, obviously giving them a little bit of flow to boost more people around the game is quite important, because with the YouTubers giving you information, you feel like you're part of a group, and it makes more of you talk and interact with each other who wouldn't normally. For example, Golden Horde and Genesis Federation, they're at war with each other. They hardly talk to each other. This introduces other aspects of problems into the game. It makes PvP more dangerous overall in high sec. It's going to introduce more entanglement. By week 2, the rewards have gone up in drop rating, so you have quite a high rated drop rating. Then you enter into the big ratings, and that is week 3. Week 3 drops rare loot. In comparison to what you have touched previously, there's nothing compared to what you're getting here. You're getting Modest Legion, Sisters of Eve debris, and you're also getting Zenu debris. The 3 ships which aren't in the game as yet. The 3 factions which aren't in the game as yet properly. So you're getting these debris pieces from each of these factions, and you now have a chance to farm it up. But their drop rate within their entire drop system should be less than 1%, the 0.1. And obviously, if you want to try and push that rate to the maximum, or even if it is 1%, you're going to have to try and flood those groups all week for that third week. You're going to be in the first one, the second one, the third one, because you want the super rare loot. Those who get it are going to be rare enough to find. They're going to set a set number, like 10,000 loot maximum for each of those debris, to make sure that only a small number of ships can be produced. With all of that being done, it's going to mean the devs are going to win at the end of the day, and the players will win as well, because you're going to have an activity to do as a group. It's going to be chaotic. You're going to be spending a lot of time with others. You're going to be making new friends that will be keeping you in the game. You'll be playing for longer. You'll be congesting systems, although congestion isn't that good for the devs' point of view. It gives them more work. But since you are congesting systems and you are all getting around, it makes the game feel more energized. More people are around. You're following the YouTubers. You're making their follows look crazy. Their videos have 1,000, 2,000 views. And the reason for it is because everybody is watching them, and they see these small channels with 2,000 views. The next thing you know, you get an additional 100 players joining the game on that day. You get 100 the next day, 100 the next day. The devs make money off them by selling them the full the full SP catch-up programs. They join into the groups on Discord. They join into everyone from the YouTubers. They're part of all of your collaborative works. people are joining in, more content creators will join in, more flow, more people in the game, and that will create a new buzz for this whole 3-week period. But obviously I haven't improved anything when it comes to the next section, when it comes to it, which is why you'd be introduced to the second week of activities. The second week of activities is going to improve PvP. You are going to introduce the increased drop rate of dead spaces for nullsec regions, and only nullsec regions. So the war will occur across all nullsec regions, and the war isn't going to be just person versus person. Kill the bases and kill stations. So you're going to kill player stations, that's Capsulia outposts and corp citadels. Killing them gives points to each of the factions. So if you kill a lot of stations and a lot of bases in Garista space, Garista will have a very high amount of points. And let's say that you don't kill many in Sanchez. That means Sanchez will have lowest points. The lowest points win. So everybody has to spread out. You have to go around and scout everything. You have to stop enemy groups from getting hold of your bases. You have to stop them from getting close to your stations. If they drop your shield, they get points. If they drop your armor, they get points. If they blow your station up, they get even more points. And the higher the level of the base that they destroy, the more points they earn. So obviously you can't do the farming down of your own bases. You have to keep everything up. You have to keep everything at a good level. And once again, you then have the spot shows of the dead space. Obviously, it's the whole idea of getting the community together, forcing a little bit more conflict. You give it to each of the content creators, make them split up into groups and teams for the sake of each of the factions. So one to Blood Raider, one to Angel, one to Garista. As I'm saying, you go around with all 5. Once you have that going, you have 1 period a day where you get a boosted spawn rate of dead spaces in a sector, in a single sector that's isolated from everywhere else. Now obviously if someone goes and attacks the sector to drop the base level, those dead spaces aren't going to spawn. So there is a way to stop it. So the YouTubers have to keep quiet about it, and the devs will generally target systems where nobody is or where there is a very strong presence. So you're going to be able to jump into that sector with this large group. It's going to be continuous warfare for that hour to get into those dead spaces, and there's going to be dead spaces only for that hour. So making it a heavy push. You want to get in there, you want to earn all that loot, you want to get out with all the loot without getting destroyed. It promotes PvP by the ton. It draws away from the wars which are happening all over the place, and it makes the game have this atmosphere where you have to play 3 and 4-fold. You have to think smarter, you have to think faster, you have to do something to stop players from breaking these sectors. And generally they can choose dead sectors, sectors which have very low travel figures. So sectors which have less than 1,000 people moving through them in the week will be activated for this purpose. So you all of a sudden have to go to this 1,000 player sector. You're going to destroy everything along the outskirts that it's only in the pipeline for a particular region. You're taking negative points at the hope of getting kills on players. You see it's this massive 2-fold strategy. A lot of PvP, a lot of PvE, a lot of everything happening. And once this period is down, then you move on to the next period. The next period is a bit more quiet. It is the mining asteroid field win. So the faction who mines the most asteroids gets the highest level score. So you mine asteroids in each of the nullsec regions. The most asteroids mined will have the highest spawn rate of luminous asteroid belts. And as you know, those are very rare as it stands. So obviously, same way that the previous week went, you mine them, you make sure that you try and spawn those luminous belts, that you get your condensed belts, and that's the whole idea behind it. You want to flow in that particular workup. So that is just the whole idea that I pitched to them. Those types of things would have helped the game drastically. And obviously moving on into the second week would have been something like T6, T8 missions for the next set of events similar to the first one. Then the next one would have been Capsule Citadel drop event for nullsec. So the more that you drop, the more points you earn to get the balance of that higher spawn dead spaces in your sectors. And you're going to be seeing people buying up tons of corp stations and citadels. and everything is just going to be moving like crazy. Capsuleer outposts, corp outposts, everybody's buying them up and they're just dropping them like crazy. And then the week following that is going to be an industrial reprocessing event instead of a mining event. So industrial reprocessing, the more you reprocess, the better it is for you. Although you drop the entire production rate for the entire game for that period, you have tons of materials reprocessed in your locations, so you're going to get these big amounts of material. It's going to allow you to produce things that you wouldn't normally produce. And then you move into the final stage where you get the T10 only run missions. T10s with the heavy drop rates, T10s with everything. This is leading up to that last week before you get the big insurgence of wormholes, and you get to now fly in wormhole space. So that one there drops just at that point. You do the T10 missions to get this massive surge into the game for the last surge period that you can have for that particular event course. You move up from there with the next week being followed through with a heavy citadel destruction event. Only destroying citadels and deploying citadels earn you points, so corps have to destroy and deploy. For corps who are already fully set up, it makes it quite difficult. You have to ally with new corps and smaller corps and get them all set up to deploy within your regions. And this here allows sovereignty to start spreading across the entire map at a much faster rate. It also means that wars are going to be more intense. They're going to be more focused. They're going to be more particular about how they stop people from deploying, because destroying a station has a standard state amount of value. So someone just drops, you destroy it, you get the full value for a station destruction. You take out the shield, you take out the armor, you then take out this. It's a longer period, smaller amounts of points. So everybody's going to be fighting with each other, defending their own territories. They have to do everything at the highest rate possible. And eventually, with all of this, the entire area of the map will be totally covered by sovereignty. Then we need the sovereignty modules dropped along with the sovereignty guns. Once all of that comes in, we now have more secure, more hardcore areas to go through. That is the whole idea behind the primary. And then for the last section, the biggest section of all, the industrial finale. Obviously, we already said that we gave them mining and reprocessing, and there was two separate events. This one here, obviously, they only have those two major events within that section. Production is something which just about anybody can do. So it's going to be a mining, reprocessing, and production event. So if you do all three in your sectors, in your areas, you get additional points. It boosts up how much you earn, and there is a chance to get drops from them depending on how much you mine. So instead of you just getting the investigation nodes from them, you get this token for a box. You go through all the way to high sec, you get your box to see what's inside. And obviously the whole idea is to make people travel the map. You want them to take the risks. You want them to be moving around. You want to depreciate areas to encourage more PvP and PvE at the same time. And that will be the final week with the big push for the big rewards. And once this is done, we then go into the next section of the game where we enter into the the Titan class, not Titan. I'm forgetting what class vessel it was, but yes, we enter into that higher class vessel than a battleship, and we enter into the heavy fighting sections for the next period of the game. With all of this being done, we have expanded our ability to play the game. The community would have expanded. It might not have expanded by 1 million, maybe by 20 to 30,000 extra players coming on board. With that 20 or 30,000, you might get 500 or 600 pay to wins who join the game. They'd invest heavily. That will help the devs get more money. By the time all of this has been put through, they must probably looking at a double in their current flow of cash. That's going to help the devs big time. Corporations will be buzzing and very lively again after a very long time. This is going to be something which won't last very long, because there's going to be a ton of wars and a ton of breaking apart of corps with all of the events moving around week by week. And people will abandon corps to join other corps during certain periods to get the wins that they want, to get the earnings that they want. And once all of this is done, will come the big finales through these events. Whatever the devs can think of, throwing in proper events like the announcement for Modus Legion. I'm expecting it to come with wormholes. The moment they open, I expect Modus Legion in the game. Now let's just go through the fixes. The estimated Plex cost shown on the insurance page should now be correct. Ship mod icons won't display on the insurance compensation page anymore. Price on buy order where there aren't any estimated market values available can now be modified. The wording for the Capsulia Outpost delivery system rules has been optimized. Fitted modules should now stay online after switching ships. Fixed an issue where drones would target other players in high sec under certain conditions. Fixed an issue where transfers would fail sometimes due to transfer reasons being too long when buying items in bulk. Okay, so that's it for the weekly update. I did give you an update on what I had put forward. It has gone through to the devs. Who knows, give this here some support if you like it. Pass it around in your corps. Have some show of things going on. In terms of war rooms, I am not part of any war room at the moment. I do have a war room video planned, but it isn't yet complete. It doesn't even have half the content required for it to go through. So I'm not going to be pushing it out anytime soon. There's the new doctrines, which I want to discuss at some point in the next few days, because T9 catch up for everybody else is about to start hitting it. A lot of us are entering into our last few days before we hit T9. So I hope that you all did enjoy, and I will catch you all in the next one.